Okay, good morning, rather. It's been a long day. It's already afternoon for me, I guess. It's 8:30. I'll go ahead and call today's meeting of the Clay County Board of Commissioners to order. Our chair is out of the state, so I'll be taking over for him. Looking for an approval of the agenda.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion offered by Commissioner Bear, a second by Commissioner Ebinger to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. The next item is our citizens to be heard. Is there any individual wishing to address the county board on any item that is not on the agenda? Administrator Larson, have we had any correspondence in regard to this?
We have, Madam Chair. Within your packet, there is a letter that, from a citizen in Clay County who wishes to have part of the record for today. They've received a penalty for non-payment. And unfortunately, based on our policy, which is also included in your packet, not receiving a tax statement is not a reason to hold or request a hearing before the board. And so we've had discussions with this owner, both the auditor's office and myself, but they've asked that that this letter be placed in as part of the record. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Administrator Larson. In regards to correspondence with the auditor's office, was there any sort of returned postage letter that came back to Clay County?
No, there was no letter that was returned.
Okay. Any discussion from the board?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Ebinger.
Steve, has there been a third party does our mailings for us?
Yes.
Was there any follow-up with them to see if this was an issue that could be identified?
My understanding is that there was no record that the letter did not go out.
Okay.
My understanding is the citizen has paid the property tax and is yet to pay the fine or the penalty.
Administrator Larson, do we need an official action on this?
We do not, because technically it does not meet our standard for a hearing.
Any further dialogue from the board? We'll make sure and add this into the minutes. Any further dialogue? Was there any other correspondence?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. The next item on the agenda today is an approval of payment of bills and vouchers.
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Krabnoff to approve, a second from Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The next item is the minutes presented in the packet from the January 7th, 2025 meeting.
I move for approval.
Motion from Commissioner Ebinger to approve the minutes,
Second.
and a second from Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Item 2 today would be the request approval of the Surface Transportation Block Grant application. We have our highway engineer, Justin Sorum, with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, so the first item I have is requesting approval of the STBG application through MetroCog. So through working with MetroCog and the other agencies in Minnesota, we were able to prioritize a project to receive federal funding. So this project is on CASAD 3, from CASAD 18 to CASAD 22. This would be a mill and overlay. So in the past, whenever we received federal funding, it was always through the ATP and just approved through the 5-year plan process. But with the new processes and being the TMA and whenever federal funding is received through MetroCog, you do have to apply for it in this manner. So that is why I'm bringing this forward. And then this project is also on our 5-year plan.
Thank you, Justin. Any discussion from the board?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Ray?
No, I have a question too.
Okay.
So we have the federal funding as long as we apply for it?
So there's a prioritization meeting with all the different agencies, and this project was identified, so as long as it meets everything and is approved through both the TTC and policy board, it would get funding.
And then when would we have to spend the money, or when would that project?
It would be
moved
fiscal year 27, so either 27 or 28.
It is a little bit of a different process, as you highlighted with the TMA classification now. MetroCog is working through what the different requirements is with that new classification. So I appreciate you being on the TTC to help keep us up to date on that. Yes, Commissioner Kramanoff.
And just a follow-up to the TMA, that actually gives us more opportunities, does it not?
Yes, so this would never be an opportunity for a project like this in the past, just since it was all through the ATP for the city of Moorhead. Now, Dilworth and us do have a chance at getting these funds.
Board wishes or dialogue?
Yeah, I'd certainly move to approve moving forward the application for mill overlay for CASA 3 and from CASA 18 to CASA 22.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner Kravinoff
Second.
and a second from Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Request granted. Thank you. The next item is item number 3, the request approval of the final contract voucher for SAP 014-626-032.
Yes, so this is the final contract voucher for the project number you mentioned. This was a mill and overlay project on CASA 26 that went from CASA 19, which is the highway that goes into Averill, to Trunk Highway 75, just over 9.5 miles. Knife River Materials was the contractor, and I think the project turned out really well. This was the second of a 3-year project on CASA 26, and the final amount to be approved today is $3,636,942.12, and the original bid was $3,672,363.40.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Bear.
I would like to recuse myself from this agenda item.
Okay. Commissioner Bear will recuse himself. Justin, I think out of all the calls I get on roads, this is probably the road in which I've had the most calls over the years. I agree. I think the project did turn out really well. It really has quite an effect on not only citizens, but product headed in and out of the county. So I appreciate the work done on this, and I'm excited for the next year. And it's also exciting to see an approval amount less than the original bid amount. Board discussion.
Madam Chair, I move for approval, final contract voucher for SAP 014-626-032 in the amount of $3,636,942.12.
We have a motion to approve the request from Commissioner Ebbinger
I'll second.
and a second from Commissioner Kravinoff. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Jackie, you'll make sure that Commissioner Bear is recused from this. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda today is the request approval of the final grant voucher for SAP 014-601-008. Justin.
Yes, so this is the approval of the final contract voucher for the paving project on CASA 1 from CASA 20 to CASA 26. This was the project that was graded 2 years prior. RJ Zavarel and Sons was the contractor, and I think the project turned out very well, and we did receive a lot of citizen compliments on the final product. The final amount to be approved is $1,437,053.47, and the original bid was $1,460,229.73.
Thank you. I just want to clarify, in our memo on the agenda, it does have the request approval for the original bid amount.
Oh,
You're
yes.
asking for the final voucher amount to be approved at $1,437,053.47.
Yes, that is correct.
All right. Board discussion. Board discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve the final contract voucher for SAP 014-6108 in the amount of $1,437,053.47.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Krabnoff to second from Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 5 on our agenda today is a request to replace an eligibility worker position in the Financial Services Department. We have our Social Service Director, Quinn. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. I'm here this morning, like you said, to replace an eligibility worker in our Financial Services Division. What isn't in your packet is this due to a passing of one of our staff members. For those of you that might have known, it was Ginny Swanson. I just wanted to say a few words in honor of
Yes,
Ginny, if you
thank
don't
you.
mind. She started her employment with Clay County. We're 8 days shy of her 7-year anniversary, so it's kind of a bittersweet thing here. She was a member of our adult team, will always be remembered for her lovable quirkiness and unwavering positive attitude towards life. Ginny was a strong advocate for her clients and a true team member. She was the first to help. She was always the first person to introduce herself to new employees, was a big presence, and will forever be missed. The position she held was responsible for determining eligibility and maintaining a caseload of healthcare programs. Happened pretty quickly. It was a medical illness, and it took her fast, so it seems kind of crass to be here to ask you to replace her. However, that's what needs to happen. Her caseload responsibilities really can't be absorbed by existing staff without negatively impacting service delivery and compliance with our state and federal mandates in this program. Not filling her position would result in pretty significant delays in service provision and would adversely affect those we serve, risk those compliance issues that are tied to funding streams. So this position really is critical for meeting state and federal mandates, which directly impact our ability to generate revenue through these programs. I would anticipate some backfill, so that is a part of my request. The reason I bring that up is I want to talk about the cost impact as well. Ginny was at grade 14, step 8. It is anticipated that, however internal movements would look, the replacement would be grade 14, step 1. This position does generate approximately half of the salary in FFP. I did attach a 2025 wage calculator in there for your review. However, I am anticipating a cost savings of $31,407 for the 2025 budget with those changes. I guess with that, I'm requesting the motion to approve the replacement of the eligibility worker position with backfill. And for that, I'd yield any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Quinn. I appreciate you giving us a bit of a tribute for the work that she had done. I just want to extend my heartfelt condolences to not only the family of her, but also our staff. We're quite a close-knit family here at Clay County, and so I know that her loss has really been felt throughout your department and through other departments. So I just wish your team comfort as we mitigate through this, so I apologize.
Thank you.
Board questions?
I'll move for approval of the replacement of the eligibility worker position with financial services and backfill.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve the request from Commissioner Ebinger, including backfill.
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Thank you. Quinn, you also have item number 6 on the agenda today, which is a request approval to accept 2 funding sources for the Family Resource Center project.
Thank you. Yes, Madam Chair and Commissioners, if you remember, I brought Megan from Creating Community Consulting to the board back in August of 2024 to provide an update on the Family Resource Center project. I'm here today to give you another update as well as request a motion. Very excited to say that we've been actively pursuing grant funding for this project, and just last week I was informed that we received 2 separate grants and confirmed receipt of both of those. Really, we sought this funding for the development and implementation of a family resource center as part of our strategic efforts to improve family well-being, strengthen community connections, and promote equitable access to services. The first grant is through Sauer Family Foundation. The total award is $108,320. That's a 2-year grant. It supports the initial phases of the Family Resource Center development, including stakeholder engagement, hiring key staff, and building the Family Advisory Board to ensure that the work of the Family Resource Center is community-driven. The second grant is through DHS, the Community or Family Resource Center grant. The total award is $687,300, and that is a 3-year grant. That is to provide the family-centered, culturally responsive navigation services. These funds will support planning partnerships and the development of a family resource center to better connect the families within Clay County to services and promote stability and well-being. Again, I was notified last week that we got both of these funds, which was super exciting to hear. I think it represents a unique opportunity for Clay County to transform access to critical family services, build a stronger, more connected community, and promote fairness and sustainability for families experiencing challenges. CAPLP is a critical partner in this, and they have decided to partner with us, play a critical role in the implementation of this project. Through the grant application and our work plan, their key responsibilities will include hiring and onboarding staff. They will hire the staff that will work in the Family Resource Center. The main title is a Family Outreach Coordinator, as well as a Family Advisory Board Coordinator. They will hire those positions within 60 days of receiving the funds. They will manage the recruitment, training, and support of these key roles. They will also lead the Family Advisory Board. Through grants that were previously received, we do have an operational Family Advisory Board already, so it's exciting to see that as well. The Family Advisory Board will help inform the core team about decisions that are made regarding the Family Resource Center project. CAPLP will be the ones providing the culturally responsive navigation services through this outreach coordinator, and will deliver relationship-based navigation services to families. This includes connecting families to services, making warm handoffs, and addressing barriers such as transportation, language, and accessibility. Secondarily, Creating Community Consulting will provide partner coordination for the project. They will oversee the development of marketing, outreach, and sustainability plans. However, we did build in that this also includes transitioning this coordinator role to another community member or core team member once identified before the end of the grant period ends. I did attach draft contracts for both CAPLP and Creating Community Consulting for your review. Upon approval of the receipt of these funds, we would sign contracts. The steps outlined in the work plan will begin. CAPLP does have the Family Outreach Coordinator position posted on their website and is just waiting to hear back from what happens today. This project is fully funded by the Sauer Family Foundation grant and the DHS Family Resource Center grant, covering all development and implementation costs. There will be no direct impact on the social services budget, save for my time as a core team member and a small amount of admin time. Just to be transparent, we did build into the grant about $14,000 of revenue for Clay County to offset the cost. That was our best guess over the next 3 years. I am looking again for, to approve a motion to receive both the Sauer Family Foundation grant and the DHS Family Resource Center grant totaling $795,620 to support the development of this project. But with that, I would yield for any questions.
Thank you, Quinn. On the yes, Steve.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, maybe Quinn, before you take any questions, when you presented before, this board provided some insight as far as how operations would look like. Can you talk a little bit about maybe what that looks like now versus when we spoke earlier?
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, so I know at the very beginning of this project, we were really looking at a physical building, and I just want to ensure the board that our discussions have moved away from a brick and mortar building concept and really moved towards something called a hub and spokes model. So obviously with CAPLP being the person that's going to hire the staff that does the work, that Cap LP will be home base, if you will. However, we're gonna have agreements with all of our partners on the core team to be the spokes on the hub. For example, Reach and Holly would be a partner member once agreements are signed, and the Family Outreach Coordinator would be able to go to Reach and provide these navigation services there. We've partnered with the Moorhead Public Library to establish a few days a week where the Outreach Coordinator would be established there at the library, and any other core team member that wants to enter into a formal agreement can become another spoke in the hub and spokes model. So rather than having one physical location that really limits the ability to serve all of Clay County, we've kind of moved into this hub and spokes model to be able to get everywhere with the same project. Thank you.
Thank you for answering that question, Board. I would like to have these in two separate motions. Given they're two separate organizations, I think it's important to accept the grants if the board wishes separately. Any questions from Commissioner Krabbenhoft?
No real questions, but I just want to say a big thank you to you and all the people that have been involved in this. I've been behind the scenes on this and part of the core team. I'm very excited about Cap LP being the navigator. I think it's totally a natural fit in things that they not only somewhat do now, but just even to just make it so much broader and so much more accessible to many other people. And it was exciting a couple of months ago when we had a stakeholder meeting to see how many other entities want to become part of this. So I see it growing and pretty fantastic. It's $795,000 to make this happen. It's tremendous. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve. I'll make the first one, if you like, then for the Sauer Foundation grant of $108,320.
We have a motion offered from Commissioner Krabbenhoft to approve the Sauer Family Foundation grant,
Second.
and a second from Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? For the record, I would like to note, I know Commissioner Campbell had some concerns about a physical brick and mortar building. I'm not going to speak for him, but it seems as though you have taken some of the concerns and questions from our previous dialogue and implemented them into a plan going forward. I know Commissioner Krabbenhoft and I both serve on CAP LP, and I couldn't think of a better entity in the community to help be that connector piece as part of the work going forward. So I'm really encouraged by that. So thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The next item would be the State of Minnesota DHS Community Resource Center grant.
I'll make the motion for the DHS Community Resource Center grant in the amount of $687,300 to help support and develop the implementation of the Family Resource Center project.
We have a motion offered from Commissioner Bear
Second.
and a second from Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Request granted. Thank you. Item 7 this morning would be a request of approval to purchase Eagleview aerial imagery. We have Mark Sloan from our GIS and Communications Department. Morning, Mark.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I'm here today along with a couple of my counterparts. The request I'm bringing for you for today is to purchase aerial imagery from Eagleview and then to use riparian protection aid funds to pay for that imagery. I have with me today the county assessor who will answer any questions we may have about how that product may be used, and I have our planning and zoning director who is our expert on riparian protection aid. This is a aerial project that will cover the entire county, and it includes standard aerial imagery, which is the stuff you've seen lots of times before, but it also includes oblique imagery, which is images taken from a 45-degree angle, which allows our staff the ability to measure the height of buildings and those types of things. When we started talking about the need for this, it became, the question always came up, how do we finance it? And one of the things that became available was the riparian protection aid funds. We had a meeting as staff a year ago and talked about whether that money could be used for imagery, and we thought that was a good idea. And actually, 11 months ago, I was before you, and we, at that time, contracted for imagery, which was flown in April of last year, standard aerial imagery. We're back again to tap the riparian protection aid funds again. Just one of the questions that came up the other day about it, that right now, as of December 31st, 2024, we have $902,871.75 in that account. We'll receive another $106,229 yet this year. So it put us almost $1 million in the fund. So there's sufficient dollars available to finance this project, and the committee has met and determined that aerial imagery is a good way to use those funds. In accordance with the Clay County procurement policy, as we reached out and got bids from three contractors for the same type of product, and we basically are recommending selecting the lowest bidder, which is Eagleview, at $133,000, which will be paid back over a 3-year period.
Thank you, Mr. Sloan. I think for the board members, it's important to note, I believe the riparian aid is in the planning and zoning budget line items, so we do have our planning and zoning director here. We did meet as part of the, it's not necessarily the county-owned property per se, but the buffer strip committee, I would guess. So representatives from the Soil and Water Conservation District were also part of that dialogue. Commissioner Bear and I were part of that dialogue as well. I think there's some, we've always tried to figure out what the best utilization for these funds would be, and understanding that obviously the state didn't give these funds for counties to just sit on them and not do anything with them. We really did see a benefit for the original use, which was to help our land use departments utilize that as a tool for their work as well. We did highlight some cost savings for staff and a variety of departments with the utilization of this imagery. Any questions? Yes, Commissioner Ebinger.
Yes, Mark, what is the projected refreshing or renewal of these photographs, and is the fund going to be enough to maintain keeping all this current?
Yes, this contract with Eagleview is a 3-year contract, which means we pay for it over 3 years, and then there'll be imagery flown every 3rd year. So we'll do it in 2025, and then again in 2028. Depending on how else we determine to use those riparian protection aid funds, we're not even using half of our allocation each year. So even if we were to continue this contract, we would still continue to grow that fund.
Very good, thank you.
Additional questions? Commissioner Kravanaugh.
Maybe just a follow-up to that, is the future, to follow it up, as you, to use your words, is that something you would anticipate we do? Another contract? I mean, is that?
Yes,
There's
I
a
would.
benefit to it being ongoing.
Absolutely, and this isn't the only imagery we do. We also do our metropolitan imagery, which is we do our 8 largest cities in the county every 3rd year, which for this cycle will be in 2026. We do that in conjunction with the city of Fargo, and so we are, because the issue with aerial imagery is it's current the day we take it. Like last year, we flew on April 4th of 2024, but everything changes. So we try to figure out how do we collect imagery in a cost-effective way that we can continue to know what's going on out there. So
Very good.
we're trying to get these projects to kind of overlap.
Yeah. Thank you.
Commissioner Bear.
I have just one comment to clarify.
Yeah.
It's flown one time in 3 years, and we take 3 years to pay for that one-time flying, just to clarify that.
Right.
And this contract is for that one-time fly.
Yes.
If we'd want to do it again in 3 years, we'd have to sign a
Right.
new contract.
Yes. And one thing I should mention about this contract is actually, we're not the actual customer. This is being purchased through the Minnesota County Computer Cooperative. They are the actual contract holder, and we will just become a licensed user, and they'll collect our imagery for us, which actually saves us a tremendous amount of money.
Another item to note is the committee did talk about how we share this information and who has access to this information. We encourage them to work on a policy so that we did have some consolidated consistency in who has the opportunity to access it.
Great.
Any further discussion? Board wishes?
I will make a motion to use riparian protection aid funds to be used to pay for this project. The cost is $133,020, which is payable $44,340 each year for the next 3 years.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bear to approve the request, a second from Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The request approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 8 today is a request approval of Resolution 2025-06 for Public Employees Retirement Association, PERA, future qualifying part-time police officers or deputies. We have Anna Moore, our HR Director.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm here this morning to request approval for Resolution 2025-06, which would formally authorize Clay County to enroll our eligible variable hour deputies into PERA. So we currently have 6 deputies. 3 of the 6 are already rolled in the Police and Fire Fund with PERA. However, we recently learned that a resolution is required so that we can remain compliant. The last resolution we could find was from 2021, which is no longer sufficient, or excuse me, 2001, which is no longer efficient because it listed specific deputy names instead of the position as a whole. There would be no additional budget cost as this is already budgeted. And yeah, that's it. I will leave that open to questions.
Thank you, Anna. Any questions in regards to what is being asked? Yes, Commissioner Emiger?
Yes, Anna, is these positions, we've already paid in to PERA for them, and there's no hidden costs on this. We just need to renew the letter.
Yes, that's correct. So the 3 deputies that are, 3 of the 6 are already enrolled in PERA. It's been our practice forever. We just have to renew that resolution or create an updated resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Yes,
I
Commissioner.
would move that we approve Resolution 2025-06 for PERA future qualifying part-time police officers.
We have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-06.
Second.
From Commissioner Ebinger, a second from Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Thank you,
you.
Anna. I appreciate it. Item 9 today would be a request approval of the Clay County Land Development Ordinance update, the contract amendment. We have our Planning and Zoning Director, Matt Jacobson, with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Yes, I'm here before you today to request a contract amendment with SRF Consulting for our land development ordinance. Part of the ordinance update has been for our shoreland ordinance. And this year, every 2 years, we get funding from the state in the Natural Resource Block Grant for shoreland activities. This year, we typically get about $2,900. This year, they bumped that up a little bit to around $4,000, so we'd be like $8,400 over a 2-year period. And my request today is to use some of that funding to help fund the shoreland ordinance update and review process. So our shoreland ordinance will have to go through the DNR for review. They have kind of a process in place for that. There can be some back and forth there and some considerable effort involved in making sure that ordinance meets all the shoreland rules of the state and it is up to date. With that, I'll turn it over for any questions.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions from the board? in regards to-
Madam Chair, I have one question. So this money would be just used for the shoreland portion,
Correct.
right? To overlook it,
Yep, correct.
Any further questions? Wishes from the board? Yes, Commissioner Crowder?
I'll make the motion to approve the contract amendment number 1 with SRF Consulting for the Clay County Land Development and Subdivision Ordinance Update in the amount of $2,988.
We have a motion to approve the request from Commissioner Bear
I'll second.
and a second from Commissioner Krabnoft. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to give a brief update? We're a little bit
Yeah.
ahead of schedule. Would you mind? I know
Happy
we'd
to.
have some conversation, but just to update some of the board members on where we stand with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, right now, we have essentially the ordinance drafted. The planning commission reviewed the first 4 chapters of the ordinance at their, December meeting, and they plan on reviewing the chapters 5 through 8, so the latter chapters, at their meeting on the 28th. And then, but at that time, I think I would ask for if they want an additional opportunity for review, or if that's something that we can take to the board. I know there was some discussion about having a work session, or work group, for you all to get a chance to dive into the ordinance a little deeper and, have some discussion and ask questions about that. But it is essentially, we do have a draft. There are some additional notifications we'll have to go out with the shoreland piece to the DNR, as well as the floodplain. That's a little bit a different process, and then our feedlot changes as well. I anticipate that the floodplain and the feedlot review should be pretty easy and straightforward, just because they essentially mirror the rules of the state. So that's kind of where we're at with the ordinance update.
I know we talked about having a work session in the coming weeks. It might be worth adding an agenda item to just talk a little bit about that highlight. Provide the red line version, as Commissioner Campbell had referenced, a little bit of some of the more significant changes so that the board has an opportunity to weigh in, understanding it's a huge ordinance. I understand that.
Yeah, and I know just looking at we've been doing track changes versions, and it can get pretty complicated to look at. So we do have tables that basically show a summary of all the key changes to the ordinance. That might be easier for you all to review, and I can provide that too. And I plan on providing that to the study review committee as well, because I want to keep them in the loop on that as well.
I think it is helpful that because of the work that Commissioner Bear had with the planning department, he also served on that study review piece. So I do want Commissioner Ebinger and Kramanoff to have an opportunity to weigh in with their insight as well.
Yep, absolutely.
So, the last chapters, how long do you, what's the timeline on that, do you feel, possibly?
It would, the last chapters would just essentially they're out right now. They would just go to the planning commission. Planning commission can review and make any comments or changes on them at their January meeting, so.
The reason for the question, if you're talking about February 4th, is that enough time for that part? Or is that rushing that? You know, I don't, either way, whether it's part of the 4th meeting or one after, but I do think I'd be strongly in favor that we take that time to go through it. It's a lot.
And to that, the board chair has the opportunity, the power to set a work session. And so when Commissioner Campbell hears the feedback from that planning and zoning meeting, maybe he realizes or wants to call an additional work session.
Madam Chair, I did, when we set the work session for February 4th, I did talk with the chair and certainly would confirm with him. He'd indicated if there was any other items that would benefit from the full board hearing, that he would be open to that.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, Matt, maybe you can work with our administrator on seeing what makes the most sense.
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Rory presenting the next 2 items?
I think he's, yep, there he is.
There he is.
Good morning, Rory. The next item on the agenda today is a request approval to purchase replacement laptops.
All right, thank you, and good morning, Commissioners. Every about 4 or 5 years, we replace laptops, and we're on another cycle here this year. We've received 5 quotes. The the best, or the lowest one coming in from Bytespeed in the amount of $112,950. The others came in, SHI at $116,490, CDWG $117,240, $117,240, Best Buy at $118,969.80, and B&H Photo at $119,451.60. So the ask today would be to request approval to purchase the Bytespeed laptops at the lowest amount.
Okay. Questions from the board?
I have a
Commissioner
question,
Bear.
Madam Chair. So are we replacing all the laptops?
No,
Is it, what percentage is it?
So we have roughly 800 machines, so these 150 that they'd go throughout the whole year. We don't just replace them all in 1 month or two per se.
Okay.
But, so they kind of stretch throughout
Gotcha.
the
And
year.
then- and you're replacing them pretty much every year, but just a different chunk?
Right,
Just-
yep, yep. So about every 4 or 5 years, whoever gets a new one
Yeah,
out
like
of
I-
this batch, in 4 or 5 years, they'd get another new one.
All right. Then another question, what do we do with the old ones?
Right now, we use Minn Kota recycling to destroy the hard drives out of them, and then we recycle the unused ones, or the old ones.
Does that cost the county money, or do we receive money for?
A little bit. Yep.
Cost-
We've tried to do the auction in years past, and it's been hit or miss with the public that comes, that wants them. They're old, they're pretty dated, so we found it just, instead of us spending the time wiping the hard drives, which takes sometimes 4 or 5 hours per machine, it's just not a good use of our
Yeah.
technology services staff's time, so we just choose to recycle them.
So to that, because of the staff time involved, we likely save money on.
Yeah, overall, if you factor that in, yes.
Questions from the board? Noted in the memo, I do see that it's something that's been budgeted through internal service.
Yeah, sorry, yep, internal services. Yep, so we do have the funds for those.
Yeah.
Commissioner Ebinger?
I just make a motion to approve the purchase of the new laptops through Bytespeed in the amount of $112,950.
Motion to approve the request in the amount of $112,950 from Commissioner Ebinger,
Second.
and a second from Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Request granted. Thank you. Item 11 today is the request approval to purchase replacement desktop PCs.
Yeah, so same thing, just desktop PCs. This would also be coming out of internal services. We received 3 quotes. Bytespeed did come in at the lowest for this as well. So this would be 60 new desktop PCs, and we try to get 5-6 years out of our desktop PCs, kind of stretch those as much as we can. They're a little more powerful than laptops, and that's why they last a little longer, especially without the mobility of the desktops and the wear and tear in that, on that front. So the 3 quotes we received, Bytespeed came in lowest at $47,940. B&H Photo, $66,055.80, and CDWG at $53,760. So we asked to purchase the lowest cost, Bytespeed.
Questions from the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the new desktop PCs from Brightspeed for $47,940.
We have a motion offered from Commissioner Krabanoff to approve the request in the amount of $47,940,
I'll second that.
and a second from Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Request granted. Thank you so much, Rory. The next item on our agenda today would be committee reports. Commissioner Krabanoff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Going back to last Tuesday, the 14th, that afternoon, I think all of us attended this meeting with the Clay County EDC, EDA, Appreciated the reports that we received from each of the entities that were with us representing Moorhead, Dilworth, Barnesville, and Holly. Good discussions about things and updates that their communities were involved with. We had a great presentation done by our own Jackie on the county website and how she's working on enhancing and building the website to work with the county and also these cities, bringing more greater highlight to potential business growth and land uses that are involved in those places. So, anyway, I thought a very good discussion. I'll talk to that point, and if others want to share about other things, you can do so. On the 15th, on Wednesday, it was 1 or 2 calls we had with our PRTF group updates with Rep. Keeler. Again, further updates what's going on in our state legislature, and also just a reminder to the public, right now there's a disagreement in the House of Representatives between the Republicans and the Democrats as to the legality of the session. That's still ongoing. However, in the Senate, they've come to an agreement to move forward with their business as using co-chairs in our work, working with the PRTF. We're working mainly through Senator Kupek as our lead, who reaches out to other senators and that are involved with our Health and Human Resources. And to that, we had another meeting on Friday, and I reached out to Senator Kupek, and tomorrow, Commissioner Mojo, myself, and Administrator Larson are going to be going down to St. Paul to meet with Senator Kupek and other senators to try to get this moving down the pipeline around senators that can help us move this, trying to get the bonding for the PRTF. So I'm excited about that trip and that conversation to come. In the afternoon, back to Wednesday on the 15th, I had the Historical and Cultural Society Finance Committee meeting. Went through the really the end summaries of our 2024. We were the the society was up about 10% in admission and up about 38% on donations. So they're doing very well. It was good to see a good balanced budget with a little bit of gain. So kudos to them, and thank you to the public for being involved with the Historical and Cultural Society. Really appreciate it. On Friday, I had updates with Quinn Yeager that we just went through on the Family Resource Center, the grants that had come through. We talked about that in detail. And then also, I just want to give a little collaborative on our Clay County collaborative updates on that. We're going to continue to move forward with Reach as our new coordinator, and looking forward analyzing our funds at this time. Roughly $30,000 is going to be put out now that is due to the Early Childhood Initiative Group, and that money, instead of going directly to them, will go through West Central Initiative, and there will be the fiscal host for that money. So with that, that's my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Krabnoff. Commissioner Bear.
On January 6th, I went to Hagen Township. They had a public meeting to discuss their zoning ordinance. I went there with our Clay County engineer and our planning director just to give input on their zoning draft ordinance, which they passed at their zoning committee. And now it goes to the town boards for their final approval. On January 14th, I was part of the Buffer Program Committee where we discussed the Riparian Aid Protection Fund for the purchase of aerial imagery. We also discussed meeting quarterly and to discuss the best utilization of the funds in the Riparian Protection Aid Fund, which is about, after this year, be close to $1 million. Jenny was also at that committee with myself, so she has anything else to add, she can. And then we also, later that afternoon, we met with the EDC, EDA, and I thought Paul did a good job explaining what happened there. And then later this week, I will be heading down to St. Paul for AMC new commissioner training, so that is all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Bear. Commissioner Emminger.
Thank you. On the 21st, on the 14th, I also attended the quarterly county EDC EDA meeting, which has been covered well by Commissioner Krabanoff. It is good that we're consistently meeting with our rural EDC EDA groups and getting some input. And really what's going on in those communities is really important for us to know. And there's a lot of good work being done by those cities. On the 16th, I attended virtually the Clay County Suicide and Substance Abuse Coalition. Had a presentation by Dallas Tuffy of First Link on what happens when you call 988. First Link services 17 counties in Minnesota and all of North Dakota. Just looking at their call load for 2023 and 2024, see an increase of 60% and 59% respectively. So things on the 988 line, they're really growing, and the use is moving ahead at a pretty amazing amount. We had discussion on the bylaws. They have a draft for bylaws for the coalition that we're looking at, and a discussion briefly, some questions about the tobacco ordinance. We covered what we know at this point on that. Later that day, I attended the West Central Regional Juvenile Center Advisory Board meeting. We reviewed the budget up to this point, had updates on youth and corrections. We had looked at some of the videos that are coming in with the new video systems we've got. Discussed they're looking for a second nurse in the nursing update. The contract we had was withdrawn, and we are going to hire employees now to cover those positions. And a brief look at the audit on the food service. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Emminger. Last week, I also attended the Buffer Program Committee. We discussed potential uses and collaboration. I appreciate having varied departments and the Soil and Water Conservation District as part of the dialogue as well. I think that's really important. Overall, I feel like we've been really cautious to spend any of those funds barring any litigation. I know that's initially why we didn't start spending or didn't spend those. They were reserved in case there was a large litigation. But as we're kind of past that now, that potential, looking at vital ways that we can utilize the funds. I appreciate attending also the Clay County EDA meeting. I really feel like we're gaining some traction and making sure that we're all on the same page and how we can advocate for our joint projects together, given we sit at so many boards that overlap that. Wednesday, I attended a dialogue with Commissioner Krabanoff, Administrator Larson, Rep. Keeler, kind of take a pulse where we're at, where do we go from here, what's our best strategy. As we've talked for a long time, this is not a partisan issue. This is not a partisan project. This isn't brought forward by a specific party. So how do we work in the best way to educate as many voices and advocate that need statewide? I also attended a PRTF study meeting, really kind of dialing in what the cost for the facility is, how we ask for that going forward. There could be some additional bed space that opens up, but how does that reflect the dialogue that we have statewide? I appreciate solutions and staff being part of that discussion, as they really are the driving force behind dialing in what the needs are rather. I was also attending last week, Wednesday and Thursday, the Red River Basin Commission's Land and Water Summit in Grand Forks. I really appreciate the opportunity to attend that conference. Really feel like the cultivation of partnerships and resiliency and sustainability in the basin is part of so many conversations that we have with our varied partners. I was able to moderate a session with more engineering on the Wetland Banking 101. We talked about restoring fish passages in the Red River Basin from Ted Rude from Houston Engineering. He was able to present that one of their fish passages in the Ottertail watershed has resulted in spawning of what's the big sturgeon, and it takes 20 years for those fish to become spawning age eligible, and it really is fascinating to see the video of that. If you've ever seen the exhibit in Duluth of sturgeon, it really is a huge feat for us to have facilitated that. So that was exciting. And then Stephen Slick from AE2S gave a presentation on our West Central Regional Watershed District, the update there, where we stand. Really great buy-in from folks in Canada and Minnesota and North Dakota alike. So I thought that was really beneficial to have the opportunity to attend that. That day, I came back quickly to attend the MetroCog Policy Board meeting. We did have good reports from the year end and then the quarterly quarter 4 update. We had a great presentation on the Moorhead Safe Routes to School plan. Good insight from the community. I think as we are next to a school, I think it's important that we're also aware of some of the caution that those folks provided. It was noted several times being next to a courthouse was concerning for parents as they sent their kids to walk to school, Robert S. being across, and also being across from a jail. I think for the public's perspective, we were really deliberate in the design of the new law enforcement center to take those concerns into account, and the Sallyport offers a seamless transition really for those folks with transportation. And we will continue to work as members of this community to hear your concerns and make this the safest community possible. So I appreciate hearing those feedback components. And then we did have board elections. It is rotating into Clay County being the chair and the city of West Fargo being the vice chair of that organization. So we did have those rotations. Friday, I attended the call with Representative Keeler again on strategy and moving forward. I will also be going down to St. Paul this week, tomorrow through Friday, to take part in a variety of discussions at AMC, but also at the Capitol. I'm pleased to say that we have several different individuals that have put us on their calendar to talk about our project. And that concludes my report. Administrator Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Participated last Tuesday in the Buffer Committee meeting, which was well covered. Again, I think one of the discussions that we talked about, I don't think that what has been discussed, is that we're going to meet on a quarterly basis rather than an as-needed basis, just because of the additional items that have continued to come up with this issue. Participated in the EDA, EDC. I want to thank the committee for their commitment. As was mentioned, I think that this is a positive step forward, and we appreciate all of the efforts of people's attendance. On the 15th, met with Representative Keeler and the PRTF, which has been addressed. That afternoon, we had a PRTF owners meeting and non-secured detention facility. We'll be looking at bringing that before the commission to kind of provide an update here in the near future. They worked on I guess the outline footprint, exterior of the building, and I think you'll be pleased with the work that's been done. I participated on the 16th of the MCC JPA prep meeting. There's a meeting coming up this Thursday. Also met on that afternoon with Sheriff Empton on a series of issues, including a STS program, kind of go into that with my next item. On the 17th, participated with AMC at our MACA legislative session. During the legislative session, AMC puts on a meeting about every 2 weeks, every other Friday, where we talk about what's new. We heard an update on the issues that are happening at the Capitol. We also spoke a considerable amount of time on the governor's proposed budget. I think that I sent an email out to you last week. I think there's several concerns that have been noted with the budget from the governor, in that it's being proposed as a cut, but really what it is, it's about a $200 million shift from state government to county government. And so, again, there's some significant challenges and concern that we would have if that budget were to move forward. While there is some additional money that is coming through other programs, overall it would be a shift away from county dollars for the other programs added. Also, the things that are no longer included, AMC worked hard to have cannabis aid through the taxation of the products being sold. The state was looking at roughly $13 million next year, $34 million in '26. Unfortunately, that is no longer in the governor's budget. That would go to the general fund. And as was mentioned earlier, the STS program, Sentence to Serve, is up for consideration to be potentially cut within that budget. And then just lastly, we've had some discussion upon riparian aid. This morning, there's a push from Corn Growers Association to have that buffer aid removed and reallocated. So something that we'll have to continue to watch. And just a note, drug court, there's a drug court graduation tomorrow afternoon just across the hall at 1:30 for those interested. And our intergovernmental retreat is next week, Friday, for those who are still interested. Registration, I believe, is still open, but we'd like to get those final numbers as quickly as possible. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Administrator Larson. A clarification, I believe the drug court graduation is next Wednesday.
Oh, next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday at 1:30. Jackie, do you have anything for us? I did see emails in the last couple of weeks, making sure if there's anyone that wants to attend the legislative conference, make sure that you work with staff to get signed up for that so that you can be part of that vital discussion. Anything else? If not, we are adjourned.